I think it's 10:30. I think we can start. Good morning, Richard.
Absolutely. How's it, Keegan?
Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. In today's webinar, we'll be unlocking value on your digital journey. I'm Keegan Stradom, and I'll be hosting this specific session. So in the next 30 minutes, we'll hope to offer you insights into the evolving digital landscape's impact on businesses and discuss implementing effective digital solutions for growth and efficiency. So whether you're a seasoned data professional or just starting your journey, this webinar promises valuable insights, practical tips, and real-world examples. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Keegan, that was a great intro.
So to help facilitate this process, I've roped in Richard. Richard's our lead digital at Zutari. Richard is a seasoned civil engineer with more than 25 years of experience, holding a bachelor's and master's degrees in engineering and construction management from Stellenbosch University. We'll forgive him for that. So Richard is finalizing his doctorate in engineering, focusing on the application of digital twins in road infrastructure. So where do we start, Richard? Let's try and unpack what digital means for Zutari.
Absolutely. Morning, everyone, and really great to join you. There's names that I've never seen before, so I'm a strange face to you, and but I hope by the end of the conversation, it'll be opening doors for a lot more discussions in future around this topic. Yeah, Keegan, I think the world has been going through some massive changes over our lifetimes, certainly, and it's just getting faster and faster. All of the industries that we work in, as you know, we're in anything from water and roads and utilities to tall buildings. We're working in resources, and all of those places, real estate, hospitality, medical. Everyone's experiencing the same challenge, which is we've got so much information. It's exploding. We think it's useful. So like my grandparents, you know, you fill your garage with stuff that you hope you're going to need one day, but you don't know where to find anything. And I think that's very much sort of a challenge that the world is facing. But at the same time, the technology is creating opportunities. And I think the challenge for all of us as businesses is within our technical domains, and what we're doing is how to actually make that happen. So from our perspective at Zutari, my day job is largely trying to figure out what we do ourselves. And we've learned quite a lot from our own journey. And I think today is really about sharing how that could be applied to the folks on the call as well.
So just a little bit of a curveball, but what would you say is the top 3 learnings that we've as an organization in our journey? What would you say are the top 3 learnings that you take from our process so far?
Firstly, change is hard. I think that's probably the thing that hits us in the face every single day. And it's little things like, you know, where do you save your stuff, whatever that stuff is, you know, anything from managing emails to saving stuff on SharePoint, and then Microsoft sends you a massive bill. so that's one thing, because, you know, as you discover things, you've got to change your processes, and that's hard. Second big learning is that information is like one of those wicked problems that spirals out of control quickly. And if you don't have a handle on it, it very quickly becomes a monster. We've recently at Zutari discovered that the monster is busy chasing us around now, and so we're having to respond to that. I think the other learning is that people are ingenious, and I think that in the hands of smart people with the right direction and guidance, you can do incredible things. And I've been stunned at how my colleagues have taken new concepts and just developed new solutions, new ways of working. So yeah, I think the learnings are reality check, big challenge, and big opportunity. Yeah.
Nice. So what's the value proposition for digital for most companies and organizations?
Yeah, it's a great one, because I think each company is going to have slightly unique value propositions. Some of the very common ones are having much more useful information that helps in decision making. So, as we all know, decisions get taken at sort of strategic, operational, and tactical levels. And the premise, I think, across the board is that good information really leads to better decision making. So we see that certainly in our financial systems, having visibility of where we're spending, where we're tracking well against targets and poorly, production rates. If you're in real estate, things like foot traffic, occupancy. So I think that's a huge value proposition, is just being able to manage the business better, because we are able now, with good information management, we are able to actually have good visibility. And so most value propositions around digital technology will have that as one pillar. I think some other value propositions are quite technical in nature, specifically around how technology can be used for operational processes. So I think now, going into the industrialized spaces, that's not a new concept. So having systems like SCADA systems to manage mechanical plant, having information systems for traffic management, for example, in and of themselves, those technologies have existed for a while. But now in the integrated digital space that we find ourselves, the Industry 4.0, the opportunity to connect those different systems to each other is opening new value propositions. So being able to say, my operational technology is telling me about how things are performing from a practical and operational level. At the same time, my financial information is telling me how the business is performing. And because we can now correlate those data sets, we can start seeing the cause and effect between the operations and the bottom line, which once again is a very big value proposition.
So how has our digital offering created unique value for our clients?
Again, lots of different results, but I think the starting point is common in getting to value propositions. So some of those value proposition opportunities have been around understanding your assets better. Many organizations actually struggle just with the simple fact of there is such an accumulation of stock or real estate or assets distributed around, and it's happened over many years, and a lot of that knowledge was held in people's individual memory or somewhere in a notebook, literally. So transferring that is challenging, and then 2 generations in the company down, you don't know where things are. It's very hard to evaluate things. It's very hard to manage what you can't see. So that being, one very common scenario, the starting point to that and all other scenarios is to really pause, take stock, and try and understand what the current scenario is. We generally try and resist the temptation to jump in with a solution off the bat, and sometimes we almost need to tell our clients to just slow down. Can we, take 5? I know you want to purchase this, or I know you want to invest in that, but let's just figure out why you want to do that, and make sure that we're not painting ourselves into a corner. And so our approach consistently is to say, let's understand the so-called why. I know it's a bit of a cliche statement, but it really makes a difference. And then on the basis of understanding and an open dialogue, I think the opportunities then to arrive at those value propositions are much better.
So a bit of a funny one. What is the strangest why you've heard from a client? Why they want to go digital?
Sure, you really got me there. There was one opportunity. Okay, so I'm gonna cite a university. A lot of our clients are, about commercial gain and about, production, etc. one particular interaction working with a university and on the academic side, so not the facilities management side. And their desire to go digital was to create a research laboratory, a virtual research environment, by starting to digitize their assets and creating virtual models of the campus so that it would become almost like a living laboratory. And I thought that was incredibly novel, and quite fun. As you know, I'm studying, so that kind of pushed a happy button in me. But creating an environment where they could do research in a very practical manner. And so their strategy was to go industrial in the sense of what companies are doing, but the purpose was very, very different. That was an interesting one.
Nice, because we've heard some scary stories about companies using technology to monitor productivity, but more on a sort of sinister way.
Like a big brother.
Yeah. So that's a bit hectic.
For sure.
And a little bit weird. Touches on ethics.
Yes.
Slightly. So how does ethics play into digital journeys for companies?
Sure. I think one of the ethical challenges that digital brings is the risk of things like copyright, the risk of theft. I mean, we just have to think about things like WikiLeaks and how information got leaked in various different places. But that is a real risk, and it is an ethical question, because how honest are your people? How much can you trust the people who are handling data that is highly mobile and highly transferable? I know some companies take that very seriously, and they scan for things like USB drives, and you can't take your machines off site. Very real concern, especially in high confidential and top secret environments. I think other ethical challenges are around taking shortcuts. So as we use more and more digital tools, I think the temptation to take the lazy approach presents itself, and I think all of us have faced that. Is to use technology to take a shortcut rather than using it as a reliable tool in the digital world is a big issue. And then I think other ethical things are around just the ease with which we can create information, and sometimes that can be inappropriate. And I think that once again requires companies to look at their culture and to have an awareness around how do we create and use information. Maybe lastly is a challenge to most of us is with the protection of personal information, the POPI. I think that was a necessary reaction to some of those ethical challenges worldwide. And unfortunately, it also creates a lot of difficulty for us in our day-to-day work. I think everyone experiences challenges around, how to use and share personal information. But it's important because once again, ethics in that space could be bent and abused. Yeah.
Nice. I think we've reached the show and tell component of our webinar. I think people are keen on seeing what we've done at Zutari for some of our clients. Have you got an example for us, a walkthrough example?
So I think, let me find. So first, I'm going to start off just with a brag, because I'm really, really proud of something that we've recently done. So as a company that's involved in design work and BIM, building information modeling, being a mechanism that we use on a daily basis, I'm very proud of what we've achieved in the certification space. So internationally, there's a standard called the 19650 standard. Just organizing my screens here, and we were very excited in the last month to have received our certification. It's been a huge drive, and this is our LinkedIn post that we put up with our CEO holding up the certificate, and that's something we're incredibly proud of. And what it means to us is that we have organized ourselves around information that we're able to confidently talk about it and confidently work in the digital space. A lot of our heritage, I guess, looks like this. And so I know this is a digital presentation, but I think this is the reality of, well, this is the reality of my house in many respects, unfortunately. There's a lot of my personal stuff that is still paper copies on desks and things. But you know, I think just from a show and tell perspective, one of the big changes that we've had is moving from this environment into much more of this type of environment, where our designs, when we work on engineering projects, are properly integrated designs where we understand how components fit together. And this style of work has really been one of the biggest drivers of change in our engineering practice and our ability to connect organized information into our designs. So, contrasting that with, this prior picture, there's quite a significant difference. We've also done some really fun things around digitizing the world. So we've embraced a type of technology called reality capture, which has brought a lot of enjoyment on our projects, a lot of fun, I have to say, but also quite a lot of value in terms of bringing the outside world in. We use drones and 3D scanners to measure the world, essentially. And one of my favorite examples is this project over here. It's a project where our technical team needed to do an inspection on this particular coal silo. And as many of you will know, high access work is dangerous and risky. It's time consuming, and to do an inspection on a concrete structure like this would be very difficult and quite dangerous. But by using drones, our team was able to recreate this digital twin of the silos, and our engineers then were able to go in and do inspections of what that structure looks like, to annotate the images around them, and to be able to give a qualitative and quantitative report on what this looks like. So this is something we're very excited about, and we've been doing this type of work now for over 6 years, and gotten to the point where we've got a network of partners as well that we work with across the continent, and it's really been great. Another use of this technology is around just understanding what the world looks like if you've got no information. So this was a project widening one of our freeways north of Pretoria, and the team, the engineers, went out on day 0 to go and drive through the road, and were able to take the scanner with them in the car. And just while they walked, they collected enough information for us to get these general understandings of layout, which was really phenomenal. We've used the drones quite effectively on construction sites. This is one of my favorite examples. We were involved with the upgrading of the Ford factory. This is where they make the buckies in north of Pretoria, and the existing plant is sort of here on the left-hand side, and this is the construction site for the new plant. And we used this simple drone. This is great technology. You can buy it off the shelf for, I don't know, about 40,000 Rand. And with the appropriate licenses and certificates, you can then use these on construction, and we do that actively. And so this picture that you can see is actually a composite image of over 2,000 photographs. The drone flies up and down in a pattern and takes photos, and then we can build this. And we did this on a weekly basis. So through the life of this project, we then get this amazing time slice view of what the project looks like. And what's brilliant now is we've got a set of as-built data that is complementary to the normal technical data that you would have on file. So if we need to now go back and see at a certain point in time, what was going on at a certain area, and zoom in and see on a certain date where where are things buried? What do they look like when they were still exposed? And this is all obviously, stacked on top of each other. So you can see where things were when it was finished, and then you can peel back the layers of time. And so this is an incredible, facility that we didn't have, 10 years ago. But now with technology improving, it's really made a difference. We also use this technology quite a bit in buildings as well. So what you're looking at over here is once again a 3D recreation of an existing building created from photographs. So once again, the team flew a drone over this building, took photos of the roof and the exteriors from multiple different angles, and then put a composite together so that an inspection is possible. There's huge potential in this type of technology to help with having a moment in time view of what a site looks like or what a plant looks like, and being able to understand where the opportunities are for improvement. Inside the building, we use different technologies to scan. This is the scanner in action. And then with that scan information, we then are able to get a comprehensive view of the inside of buildings. So you can actually see, down to where the desks and the furniture are. And this type of work is kind of less, let's call it, it's less photorealistic than some of the other scanners that are available on the market, but it's much quicker. And so with a minimal interruption to the office space in this case, we were able to walk through and get enough information to then convert that into 3D models. So this is all, really, really cool sci-fi stuff. And I guess what's really interesting about this is how it has started to shape the way we think about our projects. So this has been our digital journey, saying, we come from we're all in a career where paper used to be the way we think and the way we work. And now we're seeing technology changing the way we think about it. And I'm anticipating that a lot of the folks on the call will be in similar places where technology and opportunities are uprooting what they always thought was normal and providing opportunities to do things differently. And I think the secret there is planning it carefully and knowing how to approach that.
Sure. When we were doing the walkthrough, I could immediately look at health and safety and risk registers.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if that's a benefit that you've seen come out in the conversation, but I would imagine that would be a big one.
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, it's come out in a few ways. A very interesting use case, now that you mention it, was creating a virtual reality training environment. So we have a team that builds these 3D worlds, virtual worlds, and then they can put them into virtual reality goggles. And we created a simulation for the electrical department in Cape Town, city of Cape Town, to do switch offs. And so when you're in this environment, you then have to go through all the correct steps. Otherwise, you die in the game. It's quite scary. There's a lot. It's a high stakes game. But what's amazing is then people can go through the steps and they can actually, with these controls, switch things on and off and radio in and do all the steps and train themselves in a simulator before they go onto a live site and improve the safety. So great application.
I know at Zutari we are software agnostic, but how do you see that playing out? Are there people that are ahead of the game? Are there others that are lagging? And what will that impact on adoption of the digital transformation?
Sure. So yeah, we've seen how having the necessary abilities to use technology means that you can keep up. So some people are a bit resistant to trying new things, and I think they're on the back foot. Whereas having an inquisitive mind and being eager to try new things it definitely opens doors. And it's something that I would encourage everyone to do. You know, don't be that person who says, no, that's just for the youngsters. I think for us to all, even us with greybeards, you know, we've got to get our hands on the stuff, and we've got to experiment with it and understand how it needs to work.
Richard, sorry, Keegan. Richard, if you can quickly look in the chat, you've got a comment from Beatrice and an earlier comment from Itumeleng.
Fantastic. So yeah, Petrus, that's always a good question around how much investment does there need to be. We were able to spend a relatively small amount of money in terms of discovering these things. There's obviously the cost of the technology, but the approach that we took at Zutari was to have a small team that was given the space to experiment, and to then take the knowledge that we gained from experimentation and plow that back into the business, and that we found very, very effective. So rather than investing huge and wide, we did it at a small scale, and when we figured out what works and what makes sense, then we take it to the broader business, and it's an approach that I think works well.
Itumeleng's question was regarding the integration of the 3D into ACC.
Right. Let's have a look over here. Yes, so in terms of the 3D imagery, fortunately, Autodesk are as one of the options for technology are pretty advanced in integration. So we use drone imagery for understanding topography and pull that in underneath our models. For example, if we're designing an overland coal conveyor, that's been a very effective way to do it, as well as understanding where existing plant and equipment and stockpiles are relative to the site. A lot more visual than only survey information. And ACC has been able to handle it. I think there's still improvements that Autodesk is making to the cloud. We look forward to those. But up until now, it's worked very nicely.
Nice. I see we've got our 5-minute warning. But I think one of the things that we need to talk about is change management, but the component of trust in change management. You know, how important is that, and is it something that we need to consider when going on this journey?
Absolutely. I think one of the ways, I mean, there's so many ways that trust is important. I think one of them is trusting that the change needs to happen, and trusting that it's the right change. So when facing a fundamental shift from a paper-based thinking into a digital way of working, it requires investment, it requires upgrading systems, it requires retraining people. And in that process, once you've taken the decision to embark on the journey, and that is going to be based in trust, trusting that it is the right decision, you can't look back. And if you do look back and slow down, you risk losing on most of your investment. So I think getting to that point of change is not an easy decision, and it's something that we should all think carefully about. And also then having that relationship of trust with the people advising you is so important, because you're literally putting your future in their hands around what you will be doing in 2 or 5 years' time.
Wow, no, that was really insightful. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it. And thank you for the session, and thank you for everyone joining. We've sort of come to the end of our session, but that doesn't mean that you've come to the end of your interaction with Zutari. So if you want to reach out, I see that Shemaine's put up a couple of links. But if you want to, please feel free to reach out to us. We're not just digital. We cover lots of markets, as Richard said, but we've got a digital component in each of those markets, so we can definitely address your needs. I saw there was a quick hand, but if there's no other questions, I just really want to say thank you. And then a special thank you to Shemaine for organizing this, putting it together. Really appreciate it. Our marketing team does amazing work for us. But thanks again. Really appreciate the time, and please do reach out. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, folks. Thanks, Keegan. Cheers. Bye-bye.